This question, if that was all right there, she said, is there any other way? And I'd just like to submit for consideration that maybe being that we're just a small community here, that rather a community composed of human beings united by a common bond for the purpose of living in a society serving one another and cooperating as friends. It's not like we've got hundreds of people that we need to have this. There's just a few people here, and that if we came together as a community and that we were supporting and living in cooperation with each other as friends. Somebody mentioned go help somebody if there's an issue, because there's not that many issues here. But rather than us paying somebody to enforce these ordinances, we do it together as a community.
I would like to have a correction of the public record, and that is that we gave you a proposal, and I'd like that proposal to be read into the record, please.
It's in the record.
Pardon?
It's in the record.
Okay.
We'd like
in the record last meeting, right?
Yeah. Did you get those? Lori, get a copy of it for us. We get
Pardon?
Get a copy of it for us with the signatures. We didn't get one.
It was in our packet. It was in our packet.
Why do we need that?
Thank you.
Well, we've got to
If it's in the public record, it should be there.
Sure.
Okay. So, I guess my question is, if it being in the public record, that's with all the signatures and everything?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a few things that I'd like to say about this, and that is, I personally, and I don't think I'm standing alone here, is to eliminate the proposal completely. We feel like we don't need an enforcer. We don't need an officer of this caliber. The thing that troubles me, and this is what really troubles me, and I feel like the lawyer really, and I knew this is what the board was going to do, and I knew this is what this lawyer was going to do. You're making it sound so benign. Oh, it's not that important. Oh, it's not that big a deal. And look how many people went to court. Nobody, it's only one person. And I'm saying, yeah, that's today, but the very basis of this proposal is inappropriate for a town of this size. And that's, I feel that way. And that's why one of the reasons I say eliminate it. When I really like the way that Beth is saying, why do we need this? I don't feel like we do. Number one, the other thing is, I don't think we have enough information. I don't think the town, and I know that's what you're trying to clarify here with the ordinances and everything. We're trying to clarify exactly what is this person going to be doing, and I know you've explained it, and it's very benign. Oh, it's not that bad. But boy, I keep hearing, but they're in violation, Either get rid of the ordinance or get rid of the officer, so that there aren't these violations. Would you like me to yield to
No, that's all right.
I'm glad to yield to you, but then I want... I don't see that it's affordable. I think it's a waste of money for us to hire this person. I think we, as a small community, that's a lot of retired people, I don't think we can afford it, and I would like to see the money spent on something else that would have better results. We don't even know what the effectiveness. Evidently, the lawyer said it was quite effective. The towns are being cleaned up. Things are happening. I don't know how effective it would be for us here in this town, and that fly got to leave me alone. And I'm with Mary Ann. I think there's lots of other alternatives that we could use, and I would like to. So I'd like to make some suggestions here of some alternatives, and that's what I was hoping people would come here tonight with. I think those 19 signatures are agreeing with me and saying we don't want that. That's what the proposal was, to eliminate that position completely, not just redefine it, not just amend it, but to eliminate it. And we got 19 signatures that agreed with that proposal. I don't think that's a small thing. And I'm going to say this in what? 3 minutes? Well, she stood up here for 25 minutes to a half hour and talked about how benign this is. And yet everybody I talked to,
We asked her to come, she didn't.
I understand that, that it's all part of this mental attitude or this mental concept that's being put across here, and it's not accurate. That's my complaint. It is not accurate. It is not benign. In fact, there are seeds being sown here in this ordinance with this position that is creating a lot of discord. And I would like to see us come together in some way in which we can work together as a board and as a town. And that's why I asked people to come here tonight with suggestions on how we could do that. Because we really do want to work with you. We don't want to just be put on us, and it sounds like police, even though you're painting a benign picture. I don't think it is. So here's some of my suggestions. These are just a couple. I got to say this too. When we made this proposal, we knew the board was not going to do it, but we wanted to give a suggestion. So what we did was we picked what you had already designed as an ordinance, which was the board was supposed to be doing this. So we weren't trying to put something on you. What we were trying to do was define what it was we were trying to say. And then we used that as our suggestion. So I understood when we wrote it that you weren't going to say. Because I did hear you say it, and I didn't blame you, and you were going to say that. Well, I don't want to do that, and I don't blame you. However, I think we've done a pretty good job of identifying the issues. Although I have to say, we have not identified why the people do not want this. That has never once been mentioned. What's been mentioned all the time was, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Oh, it's not going to be that. Oh, it's not going to, that kind of thing. But that's not what those people who signed it were thinking. I would like to see us use the Betterment Committee more. That we could encourage the people of the town, which goes back to what Mary Ann read, that we work together, we come together, and if there's problems that they are presented, that we could use, there's just so many things the Betterment Committee we could do with them. I would like to, if we need, let's have a think tank. If we've got problems, let's have a think tank of people that could suggest ideas on how we could solve them. Let's form a committee. Mary Ann mentioned forming a committee. So there's 4 ideas, 4 suggestions of alternatives that we could use instead of having an enforcement officer. And I yield the floor.
I just have a real quick comment. It said earlier, when Ms. Stout was speaking, that the ordinance officer really isn't going to be working that much anyway, and she's primarily going to be responding to complaints. So if that's true, then it really doesn't sound like there's a whole lot that needs to be done. So maybe that can, I don't think we necessarily need to hire somebody to do something that's only going to be a couple hours a month at the most, and only responding to people's complaints. It doesn't make sense to hire somebody for a job that's not really going to be done very much, according to what was said earlier.
And I have something here, because I sat here in a meeting and I heard a comment that came from the board to people as they were questioning, and of course the people weren't really up to speed on maybe what was going on, but they said, nothing's changed, it's just the way that it's always been. That's not true. There's changes being made, and the enforcement officer is part of that. That is a primary change that's been made. And the other thing was that the impression was left with people when I think someone was sitting over here said, you mean we're just modernizing Jameson? And I've got here all the faces lit up. It's like, yes, that's all we're doing. We're just modernizing Jameson. But I think the point's been made here. That isn't what's on the agenda here. It's that all of the previous historic ordinances, which, as I've reviewed them, I don't know that there was a whole lot wrong with what we had here before. A whole new set of ordinances, but the change is that then now someone can actually be taken through the judicial system, and it isn't like a small town community like, hey, yeah, I could use some help. Why don't you all come over and let's cut this tree up that's fallen down, or this people's got grass this tall, but they don't have a mower. Why don't we go with our mowers and help them in the community and be a community-minded people living together, working instead of looking at ways that we could actually violate people's personal property rights. But the point is that I think it was misled to the general public that nothing's been changed, and I think that that isn't a correct statement.
I don't think, I'm not ready for an ordinance enforcement officer because I think need to understand what we are expecting them to do. And I don't think if we had a little pop quiz of the board members on what's in our ordinances, we would know what they are. And if we aren't clear on it and we're trying to supervise someone, having them apply them, the roles are reversed of who's the elected official and who's the employee.
My only concern is that we're going to come up with a big
What?
problem.
Well, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I forget that you guys can.
Could you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, that was good, Beth. Thank
I
you.
said my biggest concern about not having an ordinance officer is that people are known for dumping their dogs in Jameson. Now, this is my number one main concern of all the ordinances. And we have so many children in this town now. And if they get attacked by a dog, nobody's going to go out there and jump on that dog.
I think they do. Shane Roberts brought that up. There's been many dogs. Jim Drake took care of it. He was the dog enforcement officer because he dumped them on my property back there. But
I just think.
Well, I can agree with the dogs. I can agree with that.
but why do
But I think that I keep hearing, okay, we need to clean up the abandoned properties and all that. Fine, state that. State that in your ordinances, but don't leave it open that you can go around and police everybody's property about everything. I mean, make it more specific, is what I'm saying.
What do you guys think?
I'm not sure that an enforcement officer is exactly what we need, but I don't know what other ways we have. I mean, how do you go about enforcing ordinances if you don't have an enforcement officer to do it?
You have a board.
I mean,
You guys.
You
guys
can
are
take
the board.
complaints.
I mean, you're the ones that are supposed to be.
Natalie, I appreciate what you're saying, and that's why we're making suggestions.
Yeah.
Let's discuss
I mean,
this
I just
more.
don't know
Let's
any,
talk
I mean,
about
I
it
look
in
at other
discussion.
towns around here and I'm thinking, you know, how's Gallatin enforce their ordinances? Well, they have the police department, you know, or, you know, and, you know, I don't know, Jamesport, I don't know how other, you know, small towns do it. I mean,
And I
we
think
need
it's
to
all well and good that
check more
you
into
guys
it or
think
something,
people
but-
can get together and they'll do this and they'll do this.
But that's what's
It
happened.
doesn't ever happen.
I beg to differ. I have used my own tractor, my own equipment, and helped on other people's properties. I've
That's
graded.
fine, but for major things,
Well, see,
people
know,
work,
no,
people are gone.
you do have
That's incorrect.
that is something that needs to be considered. I agree.
Patty, Beth bought property. She didn't tear the shingles off and bury those property, and she didn't pay the man that did all the work over there. It was a community effort to clean up the town. Because I know that there was many, many hours spent by a number of the men in the community that wasn't made. Because I was told maybe a six-pack of beer or whatever, but it wasn't paid for the hours that they spent doing that. It was a community effort to clean up the town.
I have mixed feelings. I understand what you guys are saying, and I really do understand what you're saying. I really do. But I hope you understand what I'm saying too, that I feel like if we don't have someone that brings it to our attention and says this needs to be taken care of, everybody's just going to go on the same old way. And
Patty,
it's just
I agree with you.
I would like to say, I'd like to know what Natalie says the property over here that Brian Walker had, over here by, that doesn't bother me. If I drive down around and I went there, I saw that there was 6 deer in there, but thank goodness they aren't over eating my pasture. They're over there eating his grass. I spoke with him. in Gallatin yesterday. I said, maybe I'll brush cut that and stick my horses in there, on there. He said, there's no fence. Hey, I can put electric tape on it. That's a pasture. I pastured horses in the property that Pat Hightree now owns for years. Brush cut it, mowed it, kept it down, because that's what you do when you got animals on a property. So I'm saying there could be some alternative to some outsider that comes in who's looking for a check for $10 to $20 an hour and giving up a $10 or a 10-hour thing. What are you going to do if you got 10 hours and you're trying to make an extra $100? You're going to drive around town looking for the most egregious.
Well, that would be the board's discretion to tell her how many hours she could put in.
You know,
I mean,
Patty, I
that's
have
where
to
that
say,
comes.
I understand, I can hear your, the dilemma of the board, and it is a dilemma, it absolutely is. And that's why I think we
I'm not trying
can-
to cause a hardship.
No, I
on
don't think
any
you are
person
either.
ever.
That's why I think we
have
can
not.
come together
We
and
have worked
resolve
so hard
this
trying
in
to
a
get these
different way.
things to where Jameson will be clean and nice, and people will be pleasant to go through town and say, oh, this is a very nice, clean little town, and these people really care about their town.
Well, right now, it looks better than it has in a long time, and we don't have an enforcement officer.
You know that, but
Right.
I have also seen places that don't look so nice, and I don't know.
Well, I've seen
I'm not
places,
saying that an enforcement
I've seen
officer will
places in
fix that.
Gallatin that don't look so nice
So-
either.
so you're
And you
saying-
drive through Coffee, and it's got horseweeds 12 feet tall on the main highway.
I understand that, and I'm not saying that this officer would be able to cure all our ailments. That's not.
I think it's gonna cause hard feelings.
But what it does is it creates an environment. Like there's a lady on the board who put out a request to have help cutting her grass, and I know a gentleman who's cut her grass before. That's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. She wants these ordinances. She can be responsible for that, and that's the kind of environment that it creates. It creates a hostile
that's what I'm
environment
talking
instead of a
about.
community environment.
It's not benign.
Except you
It
had a
is
lot
not
of people
benign.
volunteered.
Yeah.
You had more help than you could take, so maybe one person felt that way, but.
Well,
you
it
certainly
wasn't.
had
It
volunteers.
wasn't just one person that felt
But
that way.
you guys need to understand, there's people out there that don't have a problem with the ordinances and with having someone enforce them. They're not here.
Patty,
You know,
those
okay.
people that aren't here,
Okay.
I've been talking to those people that are not here. A number of them, community members, that not this bunch that are here that are primarily newcomers, except for thanks for, but the consensus that I've been hearing, and some of them have told me that they've talked to Beth, is that they think this is ridiculous and we don't need it. But they don't show up to the meeting because they get so mad they're ready to blow up. I think if you actually put
And
it to
also,
a
they're
vote,
scared to speak out publicly on these
Exactly.
things.
And a lot of them have left.
Patty, I've heard
Unfortunately,
you.
they left.
I've heard you in a meeting talk about people who signed a petition to put the school to the votes.
Yes. You probably have, because that's a very source of thing.
So that.
That's my source of income.
But that's what I'm saying is that if people speak out against something, that's held against them in a small community.
But I'm not saying that I think this is the answer.
No,
I'm saying that we need to research it, and we need to decide. We were elected to make the choices.
But
that we
also,
made.
you're elected to hear our opinion
And
and
we're
take our
trying to.
opinion into
I'm
consideration.
trying to, really.
And take it into consideration seriously.
But I
and
don't
not-
feel like
and
you
not
guys
have-
are taking into my.
And not have a closed mind as to what we're saying.
No, I do not.
Even
have a
if
closed
you've made up
mind.
your mind already, you still need to know what we think.
I have it
I'm
on
glad-
tape.
I mean, I've been on
I
this
have it
for
on
10
tape.
years, and
We-
we've never had people come to our meetings.
Well,
Patty,
because-
I'd like-
because it's
I would
bringing
like to
attention
correct
what was
the.
happening.
I'd like to correct the public
I
record
know
on
you-
that.
I've heard that you guys
I
were
was
not.
here,
I'm sorry.
and I was run
I
out.
don't remember that. I am very sorry.
I do. Denise
I know
asked
you
me to
do.
leave, and I was there to a meeting to find out because I was alerted by my son that there were son-in-law, that there were things going on, and I was issued out of the meeting. So let's not say that.
Well, I didn't. I don't remember it. I
I
am
will go
sorry.
back and research that too. I'm too tired.
But
You don't need to.
Can I ask one more thing?
sure.
I'd like to submit this. I think we've kind of heard from part of the board, but I'm going to have to pick on you two. I really want to hear Aletha and Dave.
And Jim Cook. I still want to hear from him.
And my
You're a
original
citizen.
question is, do you see any other alternatives that might work instead of hiring one individual? Do you see?
Well, I'm
any
listening.
other-
I'm listening. I'm waiting to hear of more alternatives, but what I'm hearing most and what's most concerning me is not that we have an officer, is that we are funding an officer. That was the main thing that I'm hearing is more so of anything else is that we're funding an officer, not that we're going to have someone to do it, and that's a concern of mine, and that's one of the things I'm not necessarily on board at all with funding an officer, and I'm open to more suggestions on other things to do.
Can you envision?
I would volunteer more if I were physically able to get to different properties, and because I cruise around. I mean, my power chair can go 40, 50 miles before I have to charge it again. So I cruise around town quite a bit, but I'm not able to be a volunteer in this position to act as an officer. I don't know if that would be something to look into, or by doing so, if we're setting up for prejudices.
That's one of my concerns.
Can we
is
do
that
like-
if we hire someone within the town, oh well,
Or,
he's
yeah.
buddies with this one, and this one's his uncle, and this one's this, and they're having exceptions for this, and oh well, I mean, that's my concern for
Right.
hiring somebody in the town.
Right. If we have a
And it's
volunteer,
I mean,
And it's valid, that's very
I
valid.
mean,
Why
that's
don't we
my
have-
concern for, hiring someone within the town. So I know that's been a big issue, is hiring someone locally. But I'm afraid if we hire someone locally, they're going to be prejudiced. There's going to be nitpick. I mean,
It's
just
not gonna be equal across the
No.
board.
But there can be prejudice with somebody outside of the town too.
Because they're hired or because they're in that role? I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I
Is
mean,
it
because
they're
they're
hired?
in-
If someone's designated to do that and to bring to the board, these are what, you told me we should look at it, or look at it, and have it not in a paid position, but have it.
Why not?
The board, I guess, would say, well, that's not really fair because you didn't look at Beth's property, and, you need to look at that if you're gonna be looking at this.
Well, I'm not really sure, but I mean, that's just
I'm just
my
trying to understand.
concern.
I don't know.
Is that if we have someone that is
That was a
local,
good
that
clarification.
it's going to be, somebody's going to be complaining because you're not looking at his because he's your brother, and you're not looking at his because she's your sister, and whatever.
Okay.
Alita, do you have an opinion?
I've got an opinion. Everybody's sitting here talking about all this. If we don't have an enforcement officer, then there is no reason to have an ordinance. Because
Amen.
if you've got ordinances, you've got to have some way of enforcing them. And from what you say on in here, Lori, is that you think that the board of trustees are the village clerk or other current
Well, that's what your ordinance
employees should
says.
fill that position as our designated enforcement officers. I don't agree with that.
Well,
I
like
definitely
I
have an
said,
opinion. Can you see me out there chasing dogs all around? Trying to get some of that here, or even doing anything like that. I mean, there are people on the board that are young enough that they could do that, but they don't have time to do it. So,
But what she's saying is that's already in our ordinances, what she handed out, we've already said
Yeah,
it's possible in here. That isn't an original, not an original
That's
thought,
right.
but it's what's already, this board's approved, or the board.
you guys already backed yourself into a corner, because that's what your ordinances say. But we only,
that we will be the enforcement
You
officer.
can, you may.
Maybe.
If we choose to, we
Yes,
could.
but it's a possibility.
Why not make it a complaint-based system? Instead of sending somebody out to look for problems, wait for somebody to make a complaint about it.
No, what you're saying is really valid, Alita, and but I knew you wouldn't, because you said that first thing when you read, well, I don't want to do it. And for the very reason that Natalie said, you don't have time, you don't want to do it. But that's why I say we need more discussion. We need to get together, the town, the board, and we need to discuss it and see what other alternatives we can come up with.
And we don't, everybody is not going to agree with the ordinances, maybe not half of them even or something. And we spend hundreds of hours working on these for the last
I can tell.
Well,
4 years at least.
We can
and
tell.
maybe we
putting
don't
them
need so much
together.
time spent on our ordinance.
And so
Maybe it's
this
a little
all goes
chunk
for
of the
naught,
meetings
because
that
if we
they
don't
have.
have an enforcement
Maybe,
officer,
maybe we got thrown
So
out.
you are really feeling like we need one?
Well, a hired one,
here we don't talk.
Okay.
a hired one is else what you're saying is we need a hired officer, not someone designated to do it, but a hired person. I'm just trying to get
A
clear
committee.
what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't know that we need an enforcement officer either. I don't know that we need to go that way. As far as us spending money that we don't have on that person, I don't think that that is that much of a problem. And I don't think that we're taking the money that we would pay the person who does that comes out of the tax money, the stuff that we get. We're not getting the money. We're not using it for something else.
Where
But
does
we
the,
have got it.
so where did the money come to pay the ordinance? I thought it was coming out of the fundraising, is where they told us it was coming from.
It's coming out of the general
General
account.
fund.
Fundraising money goes into the general account, but the enforcement officer is not going to only be paid out of fundraising money.
The general fund and wherever it came
General
from.
fund.
We need to decide what we're gonna do, because we need to move on. This has gone on long enough. Decide what you're gonna do.
I would like to see you put it off.
But I mean,
You're tired of this.
we're gonna get to a point where we're,
Right,
you know,
we've got to make a
we've got to make a
decision one way or the
decision.
other.
I mean,
Right.
That's it.
but I think it needs to have more discussion. That's a motion.
What was, I'm sorry, what
Don't
was
they
it?
need
I
more
made a motion
discussion?
to table it for more discussion.
Did we hear a
And
second?
Beth seconded it.
Best second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess we're gonna table it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Water project. Beth.
We haven't even.
Yes, the water project, that's very exciting. We finally have the approved water use agreement. Which is
Yay!
awesome. I know, it's really exciting. And the engineer is waiting to get those back so he can calculate how many hookups so he can put it out for bid, which is the next big step. I have copies of those. I propose and seek input and direction, because we're all aboard, is to have a public meeting, provide the information to all the people who I have addresses for, current customers, anybody that owns property in town who might, because I've already contacted them before, so I mean, some addresses will change. And invite them to come to the meeting, discuss the document, the process, answer any questions, give them, and then give a deadline, which is something Davies 2 is requiring, and I agree with, but we've got to have a cutoff. So if the forms are not signed and returned by, November 5th, and November 6th you decide, oh gosh, I talked to, and now, you're SOL, because then it's going to cost, what now costs $1,500 plus the trenching, plus the blah, 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 and all that stuff. So I think we've got to hold firm to a deadline, but make it reasonable. So my proposition would be, and again, I'm open, is to have the meeting on the 1st of October. That's 2 weeks from tonight, I think. And you won't be here. Okay. Okay. Well, how do you feel about having a meeting without you here?
Second.
At this point, I really don't care.
Okay, well, and then I'm just trying to let people have as much time as possible to decide about, if they're gonna sign it or not gonna sign it. And that's my
Beth?
So has Davies 2 given us a date that they want us to have them to them by?
No,
No.
but they'll do what we say, but, I mean, and that's why I picked the date that I did, because it's over a month away from when the people have come to the meeting and thought about it. I mean, if we wait till December, then the bids aren't gonna go out until March, and then, it just pushes everything further back. And now the thing that's been log jamming us is